Hello, I wanted to share a tool I've been working on, which I'm discontinuing, sadly, because it was running in a bit of a, I wanted to make it more general, and that made it more like Touch Designer Network, and then I was like, am I now making Touch Designer within Touch Designer? And what's the point of that? So, but I think I really liked some UI things I made and the way it works, so I wanted to share it. So let's do that. It came from me wanting to do a VJ tool, as I was invited to do some VJing some time ago, and I quickly made a tool in Touch Designer because that's what I'm comfortable with, and I didn't really like the Resolum style. And that was really fun, and I really enjoyed playing with that, so I wanted to continue on that, and I had a lot of ideas. I made it more and more modular, and now you can see I have a grid like Touch Designer. This isn't the Touch Designer grid, oh sorry. Because this is the Touch Designer grid. This is all chaotic because I have just stopped at a random moment, so this is all the mess I was in. And this is the panel where everything comes together, so we're viewing the panel here. This is the panel mode. And it became sort of a node-based network. So you got like a video player, and these things have in and outputs. Those are these little small things. And the feature I really liked is these inputs, if you don't connect anything to them, they hold a value. So you can play with that value. And strings you can type in, and booleans you can toggle. This is, you can see in the left top corner some explanation for it. So this is, if it's looping the video, this is to trigger it to play. This is the in and the out trim point. This is the file it's searching for. And since it has a default file, it loads this video. And this is just the top. So it's all Touch Designer Network. And these connectors are just parameters. And when you put in a different thing, so for example, a browser, this searches for clips, so you can connect that. I didn't get to drawing lines, so they're lineless. But you can see which ones are connected if you hover. You can see all the connections in the group, which is nice. Also, you can connect different types to each other because all I'm doing is parameter binding. So this is a string, or a string, which is binding to a float parameter, and Touch Designer handles that conversion. And they have little nice UI. This is just from the UI panel, UI things. And I put this in between. So for example, you can then make a network where you connect a file, and you also can connect a folder thing, and you can select a folder. So maybe you want all the images, you can load all the images. These are black images, and load those. And you can have, this is just my MIDI setup. You can remove it and put it in again. Is it connected? Yes, it is. Nice. So, for example, here's a button, and then, oh, it's an image. That's why it's not playing. But yeah, so you can make a nice network, and it's easy and it's visual. I also have a nice mixer where you can put in two tops. If you have another player, put in the other one, and then you can mix them. Nice. And these are the mix modes, blend modes. Switch between them, and you can also select it here. So this is like an in and out point. And these pass through, so the input, you can even connect that, but then you get like a binding error thing. So you can put the in point and out point of the video. Then you have a nice UI for doing that, but you can also connect the slider to it. And then you control it. It's a bit heavy because it's clipping that. Also that one. And this is for the playhead. So this outputs play information. So you have a nice playhead there. So yeah, you can make a nice VJ setup. But when I was performing, or when I actually want to do performance, you don't want to be in this sort of messy network. You can hide the connectors. That will make it a bit clearer, but then I found out that when I was doing it, I want to write small expressions and link audio analyzer things to different effects and make things move. And this is way too messy for that, I think. Because if you want to do, normally you have access to parameters, like in this, and then you can just open it and then write an expression there directly on the parameter. But here these parameters are have this interface on them. And if you want to do, for example, some math, you need to grab in a math thing, put your slider in there, and then I guess multiply it by, for example, the amount of files. And if you then input that for the index, then you can move between all the files in this thing from the top to the bottom. But that's less expressive than just doing multiply by this thing. It just became, it's really fun to design and it's really fun to make. It just became a bit like, why am I making this complicated UI and fixing all these bugs when I can better use more native touch designer tools for that. So I can show you a bit of the network. My ultimate goal was to not have to copy these in and outputs to in these components, but where you could have a input and output page, and then the type of parameter you're selecting here, for example, a color, pretty, would generate a connector, and the default values would be on the connector themselves, and also the UI to change that parameter would be on there or through a connection, which would make making these modules very easy. So you just have in and outputs, or outputs on the top, inputs on the bottom, and then your own UI in the center where you want to show something. And you can bind your UI things to the parent parameter, which is being bound to the parameter, and then very easily make components. But yeah, I love making tools and these nice interactive things. And I think it was really fun to work on this. And maybe there is a purpose for it. If you know a purpose, let me know. I could get like drawing lines, making this easy interface to generate these. But yeah, it just becomes a bit much and a bit messy. That's the problem with it mostly. I think there's a better way to design a VJ tool, which is more like performance friendly. So yeah, that was it. Thank you. Here's some other nice things. I got a switch. Oh, I think I used this to switch between two folders. I made all these things on the fly when I needed them. And this switches between the two types of folders. You can delete something with right click. You can then put it in a folder, and there you switch between the two folders. You can see the change here. This toggle is cute. So the input has a default value and the output then toggles each time it turns on. So you get a toggle behavior. If you put in a button, for example, then the button turns it on and off. String is just literally the string thing, which you can type in, but it should also have an output. Didn't make that here. Math, we already saw, does the maths. A button is just a button, which directly turns it on and off. And audio analyzer, just put the audio analyzer in here with a chop here. If it wants to drag. Oh, didn't make that well. These are bind chops, but that also works for binding. And yeah, if you make some nice effects modules, you can make a really nice chain, I think. Maybe it would work if I made these inputs and outputs less super general and bound to parameters, but if I made them more logic of a certain effect thing, so tops is more general, for example, and then you can have more like, and a filter or something, maybe that will work. But I like the idea of like a linear thing, which I can rearrange easily a lot better. So yeah, that's the feature set now, and it's easy to make new of these things because they're just comps and panels, and you can easily generate these if I made that feature. So yeah, thank you for watching.